The last video that I made on frugal living talked about some of the things that I do that result in me saving money. A lot of people seem to like that video, which makes me happy because frugal living is something I'm very passionate about, just like minimalism. And it's something I'd like to make more videos about moving forward. A lot of the things that I talked about last time are habits that are easy for almost anyone to implement and can help anyone live a more frugal life. This time around, I came up with a few more simple ways that I'm trying to live more frugally, and why I recommend them. These are the frugal habits of a minimalist. But first, if you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. Here we talk about minimalism, frugal living, and whatever else I feel like making videos about. So if that sounds good to you, and you end up liking the video, be sure to like and consider subscribing. Let's get started. And please excuse my voice, I'm on the tail end of being sick. I never usually have a particular order when I make these lists, but the first one is first on purpose. And that is to simply pay attention to where your money is going. When spending a few dollars a day becomes part of our daily routine, it's very easy to overlook just how much money that can end up being by the end of the week or even the end of the month. By stepping back and really paying attention to where I was putting my money, I was able to identify where I do and don't want it to go. Reoccurring subscriptions, daily stops for food, and addictive habits were some of the easiest ways money started to slip through my fingers, without me even being fully aware of it, because like I was saying, some of this spending was just part of my routine. Making myself more conscious of where my money is going allows me to better plan exactly where I'm going to start making my changes. The rest of the things on this list, starting with this next one, are going to be a lot more practical, physical, frugal habits. And the first thing here is to use old clothes as rags. I actually got this idea from a comment a long time ago, and I just think it makes a lot of sense. When it comes to old t-shirts that are ripped or have just seen enough light of day, they can easily be repurposed into a rag for cleaning surfaces. If an old cotton shirt can be used as a rag or some sort of cleaning object, it's essentially the same material as you'd be buying for that purpose anyways. The same thing applies to old towels too. They're usually big enough to get a few rags out of and could easily keep one from having to buy rags for quite a while. Now, it might not be as pretty as having a matching set of towels or rags, but considering what it's used for, I don't think it really matters. Reuse food containers for other uses. This is something my mom has been doing for quite a while, but I never really paid any attention to it until recently. A lot of food products from the grocery store, especially refrigerated ones, come in these plastic containers. A lot of these can easily be used to store leftovers, pack a meal, or use storage for almost anything else. And just looking at it, it's almost the exact same thing as purchasing Tupperware. I'm actually reusing this tin that has candy in it as a change jar. Just like the rags, it might not ever be as pretty as having a matching set of containers, but I don't think anyone's going to judge me for that. Next is probably the lowest effort, but possibly the most impactful thing on this list, and that is eating before I leave the house. Because I am someone who can and will spend a ridiculous amount of money on food if I'm hungry. It's a fairly well-known rule to not grocery shop on an empty stomach, but I can argue for my sake at least that the same rule applies when I'm just leaving the house in general. I've made it a habit now to not leave the house on an empty stomach at all. It's not the end of the world if I eat out once a week or so, but just like anything else, over the course of a month, that can quickly add up. By doing this, I rarely find myself spontaneously stopping and buying food. Learn to do it yourself. I say this with slight hesitance because I am a firm believer in letting professionals handle difficult tasks. But there still are certain areas of my life where I've been able to learn to do something, thus saving me money. I've mentioned before that I did learn how to cut my own hair. And while I'm very aware that I'm not Chris Evans or one of the Hemsworth brothers, I am able to get by doing it myself. I needed a haircut about every 2 weeks or so, and with tip, that was easily between $30 and $40, if I remember correctly, which was easily about $80 a month on just haircuts. Doing this inspired me to explore other areas where I could possibly learn to do a life-useful task. I've never really been a car guy, but the next thing on my list of things to learn to do is learn to change the oil in my car. This can quite literally apply to anything. Budgeting, cooking, and in fact, learning to cut your own hair can all be learned online. All of these things can probably just be learned on YouTube alone. So I guess moving forward, I just want to learn to be a little bit more handy in areas where I think it could help me save more money. And the last thing here is to consider what triggers spending. When I made my very first attempt at sticking to a budget, I realized that I had a bad habit of window shopping. Well, Amazon window shopping. I found myself on my Amazon wishlist multiple times a day debating on what I should order. It was hardly because I ever actually needed something I was about to order. I was either bored, excited in the moment for whatever that item was, or just wanted something to look forward to in the mail. And I bring up Amazon because that was an easy spending trigger for me. Once I was aware of this, I actually deleted everything off my wish list and deleted Amazon off my list of frequently visited sites, making it just one step a little more difficult for me to access. The convenience and excitement that came with ordering something just made me a little more prone to spending. Anyways, these are just a few things that I'm doing to live a little more frugally and hopefully put me in a much more comfortable financial position. The important thing to remember when it comes to frugal living is that there's a fine line between living frugally and depriving yourself. None of these are actual game changers on their own, but together, I believe they can put me in a much better financial situation. Anyways, as always, I appreciate the time you spent here watching this video, and I hope you got some value out of it. If you did like this video, and you do like this type of content, be sure to like and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.